This video is sponsored by World of Tanks. Find out more about it later in the video.
It's an Arch production.
If there is one game that I would call Game of the Year, it has to be Baldur's Gate 3. The setting, gameplay mechanics, and general world building the game offers is just unreal. If you haven't played the game yet, do it. Seriously, you won't regret it. And whilst you are definitely going to put that game on your have-to-play list, I simultaneously want to divert your attention to all those games. Not because I want you to play them as well, I mean, you still should, but because I want to study them in our quest to make the perfect game. To make a really good game, or hell, a good anything, you need to study what already exists and find something to offer to your consumers that your competitors can't or haven't done yet. And you do that by being a consumer yourself. Put it like this: who would make the better movie? Someone who has watched over 1,000 movies, or someone who has a degree in filmmaking, yet has only seen 10 movies in his whole life? Yeah, probably this guy, because he fully understands the competition. By knowing your competition, you know what is currently hot, what is super cliché to do, and what the basic formula of a good blank is. And let me tell you, I've played my fair share of video games and contributed to multiple more, which gave me a ton of ideas. But the number one thing I learned from studying all those games is that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We only have to make it better. Undertale, Yakuza 0, The Binding of Isaac, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, Escape the Backrooms, Five Nights at France, and Baldur's Gate 3. Chances are you most likely already played them, or at least heard about them once before. If you have not, this must be your first time on YouTube. If that's the case, welcome! This button over there generates fun content time to time. You should click it. Anyway, so, to set the mood for the video, allow me to give you a quick fun fact. Scott Cawthon, the man behind the FNAF series, was, before he made the massively successful horror games, well, not to be purple, but was a downward spiraling game developer. He made this game and then this, yeah. But then he released Five Nights at Frodo's 1. The results? His net worth is now worth over $70 million. This, at first glance super ugly and not special at all game, multiplied his net worth by probably $1 million in a short 9 years. Doesn't that sound wild to you? All he did was take the existing formula and giving it 2 simple spins. What those spins are, we can figure out by playing a little game, shall we? Try to spot the main difference between FNAF and Amnesia. In Amnesia, the player has full control of the character. You see the monster, you just backwards hop into the nearest closet. But in FNAF, you can't run. You can't even walk. You are stuck in place, and all you can do is shine lights and close doors. In the FNAF games, aside from this one, you are immobile, which is terrifying and super unique to its time. But this spin to the game wasn't the sole reason for its massive success. Do you honestly think the FNAF series would be as popular as they are today if it really was just you fending off hobbits for how many games now? Of course not. What really kept everyone going and hyped for the next same game were the secrets. Why did my screen glitch just now? Why did the posters change? Who is the guy on the phone? Every single person who played the FNAF games at least once had in their playthrough something happen that they couldn't immediately understand. Why is there not a Frodo, but now golden? And why does he defy the laws of physics? It's those little things that get your 2 brain cells moving. When you finish the game, or night, you will start actively questioning what the meaning of it all was. The game triggered you to delve deeper into it. It gave you a puzzle piece to a grand puzzle that you won't even know what it looks like. You want to know more. Why? How? When? What? And with every question that gets thrown at you, with every answer MatPat giving you, you get more and more invested into the game. And once you are invested enough, you have sold your soul to the animatronics. Scott did nothing more than copying his already defined art style, which is nothing special. added some simple mechanics that he also used in the previous games, but then took away the feeling of safety by locking the player on an office chair while throwing all kind of puzzle pieces at you without giving you the bigger picture. Those two things, plus the basic good formula of a horror game, are what made FNAF the money-generating series it is today. I don't know if anyone shares the same opinion as I do on the latest title of the series, but I felt it didn't have the same charm that the previous games had. And I think that's because the developers, instead of locking you in a small room, gave you this enormous pizza complex to not only stand still in, but also allow you to move in. You are no longer unable to control your character. The game though was still alright, and it definitely continued the weird deeper lore to the game with AI now taking over humans? What? However, I would argue if this game was the first FNAF game ever released, it would have never become as popular as the game series is today. Right? There is a certain wow factor that a game has to reach to make the game feel unique and have it become successful. For example, simply taking the existing FPS format and then changing all guns to finger guns isn't going to make you a booming developer. You have to do more than that. And this is where The Binding of Isaac comes into play. The story of Isaac is quite simple. You are a naked, crying child, your mom is deceived by the devil and tries to kill you. To escape her, you jump into the basement where there are tons of monsters that you will have to slaughter, whilst descending the floors to take down the devil and other monstrosities. And it does all of this in the same gameplay style as the first Legend of Zelda released back in 1986 did. Edmund Macmillan, the developer behind The Binding of Isaac, already had a pretty popular title before he started developing Isaac, so he wasn't completely unfamiliar with success, but he could have never guessed the level of success that Isaac brought to the table. This sparks the obvious question: how? How is The Binding of Isaac so good if it is just like the first Zelda game? Well, I kind of just said why. What Edmund did was essentially taking the base formula of the Zelda game and improving upon it. He added hundreds more items. He created countless synergies between them, added thousands of rooms, hundreds more monsters, better graphics. The game added over 30 playable characters with each a unique twist, and he added unlockables, giving the player purpose in each run. And what this altogether meant for the game, the spins that turned Isaac so successful, is insane replayability and rewarding exploration. Essentially what you do in an Isaac run is start on level 1, grab an item, kill the level boss, get another item, and go down. Do this 5 more times and you will find the first story boss, Mom. You fight her and defeat her juicy leg and descend 2 more times to now slaughter her heart. Then you go down once again to defeat Satan, and go down once again to defeat the lamp, and maybe you can fight Satan again if you did a sequence of events during the run. And banger plot twist alert, if you hit the coin flip you will even get another floor with an even harder boss. This guy is basically Ditto from Pokemon, but then on steroids. The formula of the Isaac game, if you explain it like I did just now, is really simple and maybe even boring. But I can assure you it is anything but that. Let's go back to level 1 and have a closer look. We clear some enemies and we find the item room. Here we find the gnawed leaf. What it does is basically turn you invincible if you stand still long enough. Something the Mario brothers would shamefully steal 16 years earlier. Anyway, there is a small issue with this item. How the hell will I do damage? We clear some more rooms and we move on to the boss room, where we get every player's disappointment, a cube of meat. An item that Edmund would shamefully steal to use in his previous game sometime before. The nice thing about this cube is that it rotates around us, and when monsters hit it, they get hurt. Do you see where I'm going? Yep, I completely beat the game. This is the first joy of Isaac. In the next run, I will find something completely different. Maybe even shit. There are tons of bad items in the game that have little to no purpose to your run. And with a little bad luck, you will also miss out on a damage item after you slay the boss, like I did just here. Am I just doomed now? No. Let's explore a little. Here we find the shop, where we can, with 15 coins, buy a damage item. Thing is though, I don't have any money. So I guess I'll explore and clear some more rooms and hope I get enough money.
Okay, maybe there's money in here? No, but there is a bomb. With this, I can do a ton of damage to enemies, but also open secret passageways. Something the first Zelda game would shamefully steal 36 years ago. If we take a look at the map, we notice that there's an awfully suspicious gap here. So like every sane human, we just blow up the wall and inside I find a shovel. With this shovel, you can basically skip a floor on every use, which I'm not sure why you would do that, because you would lose out on your items. But the shovel has another mechanic by using it on a floor decoration. When you do so, you force the game to spawn a crawl space. Instead of an item, we find another passageway to a black market. Okay. Hey, there we go, another damage item. But why have one damage item if we can also have two? And finally, we descend to level 2. The rewards you get for exploring and the everlasting replayability is what makes Isaac one of the best roguelikes I have ever played. I am not afraid to tell you that I have over 600 hours in this game, with all the achievements unlocked as well. There is no other single player game that I played that I have spent this many hours in. But, and this might surprise you, it's not my favorite single player game. That title goes to Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. This game wasn't as popular as it is today back when it was released. To be honest, back then most people found it simply a good game. Yet in this day and age, I dare to call it the best single player game I have ever played. The spins that the developers of Metal Gear Rising applied to the game and what made it so special might have all happened because of luck. Hear me out. The game was released in 2013. In the midst of the rise of computer specs and better hardware in general. What every game developer with enough money tried to do is make the game look better and realistic-er, if that's a word. And in that big climb to try to achieve basically real-life correspondence, they lost the very touch what made most games so special. And that is, that they are a game. When the first computers started to improve, developers wanted to stray away from the pixel art side-scroller theme and aim for quote-unquote cutting-edge graphics with physics true to earth. As the years gone by to where we are today, games were less and less about being a game and more about being as close to realism as possible. Even Skyrim tried to be as realistic as possible, though within its own alternative timeline world. This race for realism created an interesting phenomenon. Players got bored of the games trying to be like real life, which I shared. The point is, Metal Gear Rising was released in an unlucky time, where the demand for realism was high and the demand for games that are just goofy and weird were quite low. Fast forward to 2020, where everyone simultaneously decided to stay home and all. People started to play a lot more games than usual, and in general consumed a lot more media. And that is where Metal Gear Rising started to become mainstream. The Let's Players might have started it, but the memes, Jack, they boomed the popularity of the game. Within 30 minutes of playing the game, you already know that it's a good one, because the unique spin to the game is that it's aware that it's a game. So anything the developers wanted to do was possible. They didn't care about the laws of nature. The game starts and you are in a car with Obama. He's talking about politics and then boom, Sam appears. This man is the embodiment of charisma. He's funny, he's Brazilian, I'm not sure if that's a good thing. And more importantly, he's strong. Quickly demolishing your car and taking Obama for re-election. This is just the first cutscene, and you already know that this is a game. The military convoy with many guns stop for one person? The person dodges bullets and later on also deflects them? That can't happen in real life. I know, that's the beauty. When we say to the heck of it to realism, we allow our imaginations to run wild. Which is exactly what Metal Gear Rising does. The gameplay is something even better. You have a katana and with it you can cut open anything you want. Trees, enemies, even the Polish. Cutting up enemies down to their molecular level is so satisfying, and this thing alone almost single-handedly carries the game. But there is more. Something a lot bigger. And here it is, the tutorial boss. Yep, this massive robot is going to teach us how to play the game. It makes no sense at all, but damn is it cool. We dodge its massive attacks, cut off its feet, amputate its arms, parry an entire huge-ass sword, just to pick up the robot ourselves and yeet it into the sky, to finally cut it in half with one swift cut. This is the tutorial boss. But wait, the tutorial hasn't finished yet. I hope you are ready for phase 2, where we have to dodge even more attacks and incinerating lasers. And then, finally, once we get him to low health enough, well, I'm not even going to tell you, just have a look. This is what I call a game. The one thing that made this so cool is the music. Every boss in the game has a custom banger track made for them, which perfectly loops when you're fighting him. And when I was nearing the end of the game, I finally realized what the music did to it. You know when you are vibing to music in real life, and then the music aligns with what you are doing, making you feel like a badass? That is exactly what MGR makes use of. When you reach certain points in a boss battle, the music starts to line up with your actions, which for me at least gave me straight up goosebumps. If we want to take some lessons from the game and apply that knowledge to our own, it would be that first of all, the music insanely enhances the experience of the player. After all, the two ways we maneuver through the game is by seeing and by listening. Don't sleep on how important audio is. The second lesson is all about knowing the competition. Stardew Valley already exists, Nintendo. You don't have to reveal 20 farm games in every Nintendo Direct. The formula of a game that is overdone eventually gets disappointing. The downside of all those games is that you need to buy them. Or you could put on an iLab and get a trusty parrot and a nice hat, but that's always a lot of work. Instead, why not play a free-to-play game? Ooh, I know, it's hard to find a good free-to-play game nowadays. But you don't have to worry about any of that, because the sponsor of this video, which thanks for sponsoring by the way, got your back. No, don't skip ahead just now. You can't know if you like the game or not without trying it out or seeing it at least once. So give me a chance, okay? World of Tanks is a massive team-based multiplayer game with over 800 tanks to play and choose from. Play with randoms or team up in a surprisingly competitive clan war and dominate your opponents like our patriotic great-grandfathers did in the past. Play on many different maps, historically accurate moments, which I'm a big sucker for, in whatever tank type fits you, and you can even customize your vehicle to make it fit you even more. Like I said, the game is free, so if you don't like it, just yeet it off your computer or something. But if you do try it, make sure to use my link in the description to support the channel, which thank you so much. And when you are in the game, don't forget to use the code COMBAT to get vroom vroom 250,000 credits and a free 7-day trial of Premium. Once again, click the link in the description to get started. Yakuza 0 starts with a black screen. Not just any, but a black screen with audio. And what do we hear? Someone crying. And as the crying man opens his eyes, we meet the man we play, Kiryu Kazuma. After a nice, friendly talk, Kiryu grabs the sobbing man's money that he owes a loan shark and gives it to the rightful owner. He then says hi to the locals and we start the game. Why did I just summarize the cutscene and not just show it to you? Well, the starting cutscene doesn't take 1, 2 or 5 minutes. It takes a whopping 10 minutes before you can even start to control your character. That's an interesting approach. Anyway, let's start our journey in Kamurocho. And it doesn't take long before the friendly stroll throughout the city kicks us back in our seats. A meek student is being robbed in an alley. This is where it gets interesting. The cutscene started, and we are told that they are trespassing on our turf. But then, instead of Kiryu walking to the fight during the cutscene, it instead kicks us out of the cinematic and forces us to walk to the punks ourselves, just for then to be another cutscene. If you think about it, that's kinda weird. Why do we have to walk for 3 seconds just to see another cutscene? This is where the brilliance of the game lies. By handing you the controls of Kiryu during the sequence where we all know we are going to fight these robbers, Sega makes you feel like you are Kiryu. You are not just controlling him. The player is the legendary Kiryu Kazuma. Just another thing that I think is really interesting. Anyway, forward we move and into the next cutscene we go. And here, the game shows its true colors. It's just like Metal Gear Rising, a bizarre game. A prime example of the game announcing you're in for a bizarre playthrough is shortly after the introduction fight. Your Aniki, also known as your blood brother, shows up and invites you out for a drink, which you promptly accept. After following him around for a while and appreciating the busy Japanese city life, you walk into a drunk grandpa and a drunk punk about to fight it out, before you decide to sober them up. And here we go, another fight. And this fight will make you fall in love with the game, because of heat actions. As you deal damage in battle, you charge your heat gauge. Have it full enough and you could do a heat action move. Which basically means doing a lot of damage, but that doesn't matter. What actually matters is how cool you are doing it. You see this kid? F that kid. And f that old man too. The only thing you need to know about this heat action move is that you are so cool doing them. Yakuza brings up emotions in many ways, but the most dominant emotion is primal anger. We all have that wet dream of reconstructing someone's bone structure and just absolutely demolishing them for a solid cause. And Yakuza gives you that reason. You get backstabbed throughout the entire story, and everything slowly and surely gets taken away from you. And in the end, the only thing you are left with are 2 fists. Yakuza throws the world against you, but you, Kiryu Kazuma, are not going to let anyone stop you from bringing justice. Turns out that the loan shark set you up, and the Yakuza families are trying to use you as a scapegoat. Are you going to let that slide? Of course not! You step right into the cave of the lion and defeat anyone in your way till you can deal with the boss. Oh, speaking about bosses, they are difficult. You see this man, Kuze? The number of times you fight with him is infuriating. And that is a good thing. When something or someone is hindering your progress and keeps annoying you or defeating you, like these annoying grunts with pistols that just boil my blood, it feels so good to finally defeat them. And what Yakuza 0 does best is have you defeat them with these incredibly brutal and overly powerful heat actions. That beautifully quenches your thirst for revenge. And you will feel that often. The game loves playing with your emotions, and as time goes on, you will get emotionally sucked in the dramatic and honestly sad moments the game has. I won't lie, I cried multiple times playing the game. You wouldn't have guessed that from the previous footage, would you? But it's true. Playing with emotions in relationships is definitely not healthy, but in games? Man, if you are able to somehow develop a brutal beat-em-up game whilst also having these emotional moments, then your game is an art on its own. I have around 40 hours in Yakuza 0, and the first question you might ask is, didn't you get bored of the same fighting thing? After all, it is repetitive. The answer to that question is, well, no. At first glance, the fighting might look like the same thing over and over again, but what Yakuza actually does, the thing that keeps it engaging, is having you unlock completely new fighting styles that drastically change how you play the game. And on top of that, even if you spend the money you got from punching people to get new heat action moves and powerful combo attacks, which also keeps it refreshing. Oh, and not to mention, Majima. This guy has to be one of the best characters I have ever seen in gaming. He is also present in the sequels of the Yakuza games as the kind of anti-hero supportive person. But in this game, you have the time play as him, which is so freaking cool. Majima, just like Kiryu, has 3 different fighting styles that are completely different from each other. Where one you have a bat and just pummel everyone into the ground, and the other you just dance everyone to their graves. And on top of all of this, we have the side quest. I know, sounds hella boring, but I would argue that if Yakuza 0 had no main story and just side quests, it would still be an incredible game. I was walking around trying to sober someone up till I accidentally found a man spying on a girl. What a creep, I thought, and moved to him and confronted him. Where then he confessed he hasn't seen his daughter in 15 years. And claimed he finally found her, but was too afraid to actually confront her, as his sins of the past haunted him too much. So, the good Samaritans we are, we say, "Alright mate, I got you," but then in Japanese, and decide to go into the cabaret club to get to know her better. After talking with her and masterfully hiding the fact that we are undercover, we learn that she indeed hasn't seen her dad in all those years because of a divorce. So, damn, this surely must be the girl we think. We continue to set up the meetup, and all is well as they are finally reunited once again.
Nani?
Yakuza, you sly bastard. But this is a game after all, so they just laugh it off and we end up going to the club together. Where he asks her to call him daddy? Point is, the side quests in Yakuza have meaning and actually reward you with a really good time. I would argue that every side quest has as much love put into it as the main story did, which I wish more companies did nowadays. To summarize Yakuza 0, well, the game gives you a lot of content. If the main story would be the bone and the remaining content the meat, you would have one fat juicy piece of meat right there. If you are working on your own game, have your game offer more than just a plot. And no, that doesn't mean you have to add the FNAF deeper layer of wicked lore. You can also just genuinely add more to it. Undertale did something that no other game fully fleshed out to the same extent before. The consequences of your actions. Not some weak telltale actions of your consequences stuff, where in the finale you end up in almost the exact same scenario as if you chose the complete opposite options. No. In Undertale, the whole world changes because of your actions. And it does so in a smart way. The game has 3 different paths. You have the neutral path, where you kill and spare whoever and whatever you like. You have the pacifist path, where you save everyone. And the genocide path, where you do the complete opposite. When you first play the game, you have, hopefully, no knowledge of this and aren't aware that your actions have consequences. So you will most likely do the neutral path. You play through the game, enjoy its good combat mechanics and lovely characters you meet along the way, and get to the end. But then, you are greeted with this. What? Play the entire game yet again, but now not kill anyone and I'll get a happy ending? I guess I'll try it out. You play the game again, this time sparing everyone and even going out of your way to prevent the before so menacingly bosses. The landscape changes because of you, the battles go differently and the dialogues are all changed. It's like you are playing the game for the first time, while actively knowing what's coming up next. It's amazing. You continue the story, get to the end, and as you expect to fight the king again, everyone you met along the way shows up. But then, boom! Then finally, an ending where everyone is happy and about to explore the world. This is the pacifist ending. Now, if you are as wicked as I am, you are probably wondering what happens if you go on a genocide run instead. And, well, the whole world and story changes yet again. You slaughter the one who saved you, kill every monster in town and in the caves, instantly stab the friendly ones, and summon even stronger versions of the less friendlier ones. Whole cities are abandoned because of you, and with every kill you make, you are reminded of the happier times they could have been in, which gives you that feeling of guilt and bittersweetness. You are genuinely sorry for what you did, but your interest outweighs your guilt, so you keep on killing. And finally, just as you are about to go to the king to finish the job, you face Sans. Sans is just Sans really. He never fights you, never stops you either, as he is just a local jokester. But now, because of your actions, he decides he has to take action against you. And he welcomes you to the hardest fight you will ever have. He will take dozens if not hundreds of attempts to beat, and many close calls to finish the battle. Where then, shortly after, you are rewarded with the genocide ending. You feel sad for the people you killed, but you admire the game for letting you do it nonetheless. What you will also notice when playing the game is that you are following a world where everything is carefully orchestrated. Every place has purpose, and it's up to you if you care or not. I would love to call this approach the playground approach, but unfortunately every open sandbox game claims it's an endless playground. What I mean by playground in the context of Undertale is that the developer Toby Fox has carefully crafted a map and story, so you are free to go wherever you want to, but that you don't have to go there. You are given a boundary of places to go, and if you go there, you will learn more about the world and sometimes even get items for it. I know this might sound a lot like general exploration, which I praised The Binding of Isaac for, but it's not really the same. Games that value exploration are games where you move from A to B and you get rewarded for finding the secret room C. While playground games have you go from A to B, but on the way you go through C, D, E, F and G, with nothing about them halting the flow of the game, yet still interesting enough to go and talk to people at, or do fun minigames you might run into. Those two things might be a bit taken for granted nowadays, as everybody likes to copy successful games in the hope to make a quick buck. This game, to this day, still holds a special place in my heart, even though the community and the memes made me kind of hate the game as well. It's ironic, isn't it? The final game on this list is Escape the Backrooms. Why the hell did I put such a buggy, ugly, simple fandom-inspired game on the list among those legendary titles? Well, because it's a really fun game. Well, it's a really fun game if you have a really good friend to play with. Escape the Backrooms on its own isn't anything special, and most of the time it's just a glorified walking simulator that makes no sense at all. But the game has multiplayer. Proper multiplayer support immediately makes your game turn good. You might not realize this, but the reason why COD games and Battle Royales are still popular to this day is simply because of the players in it. Their actions are always different depending on the person. No coding in the world can define the random playstyles and widely varied difficulties you will have, whilst facing all these online players. Players are simply said an ever-producing source of content for the other player. Just look at CS. Counter-Strike 2 released not too recently, and it's still pulling millions of players every day, even after 23 years of the same formula. But PvP isn't the only kind of multiplayer you could implement. Adding the option to simply play with another person has the same results. Escape the Backrooms is basically just a big series of really poor, not so scary puzzles and parkours to go through. Playing it alone, it's a boring game. But if you have a good friend, yes, a good friend, someone you are on the same wavelength with all the time, the game enables you to fully use that friendship of yours to enjoy the hell out of the pre-made buggy levels. And you know what? Have the game buggy. Allow the duo of players to laugh their asses off when something goes wrong. In some weird way, Escape the Backrooms is like a really bad movie that you and your friend just can't stop laughing at. It's great. I can't explain it any better aside from this. I loved playing the game with my best mate, yet left the game a negative review due to how bad and how repetitive it is. I loved hating the game, and I would gladly play more content if that ever comes out. I hope this made the slightest sliver of sense. The reason why I chose all those games is not because I wanted to be super biased in what is supposed to be good or what is supposed to be bad. Because in reality, there are many more games that are special and really fun in their own way. But the games I picked today allowed us to learn what I think are the most important advanced aspects to master for your own future game. If you adapt from the usual thing, add a deeper layer to the lore, reward players who explore, add tons of replayability value, have beautiful music, enhance the emotions that you want the player to experience in your game. That is actually a game and not a real-life simulator. Add meat to the bones, because it's not just a main story thing. And have your choices influence the shape of the game, while also implementing the playground mechanic into it. And also try to somehow have multiplayer implemented if it adds value to the game. If you do all of this and combine it together, you get Baldur's Gate 3. And that is how we have gone full circle. There is a lot more to the games I mentioned, and the arguments I made for some can be made for the others too. but I nonetheless sincerely hope you will play them yourself. Each one of them is an experience that you don't want to miss out on. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this lengthy video, and, well, like always, keep going. Patreon shoutouts, here we go! Puppet, the man who is AFK in my Discord's voice chat for days on end. Iris, the breedable wrist queen, I'm sorry, what is this name? Herty Randall, who single-handedly created the best game ever, but is too afraid to release it. Blue68, his father might be the purple guy. Suts and Duts, the man behind the slaughter. And Marcy38, the final remaining dinosaur that isn't in a museum. If you want to get a shout out yourself, check my Patreon link in the description, where you can also find my other Patreon supporters. Well, that's about it. See ya.